Coach, what went into the team dinners and stuff you guys had yesterday? It looked like a lot of fun.
You know, one of the things we wanted to do when we came here was to try to find out reasons that we may have not been winning the games that we need to. And one of the things on the football team is always important is unity. So within offense, within defense, within your position groups, you got to create unity. And, you know, we've all played football, so you realize when you're in camp and you're grinding, you got to sometimes throw them a curveball and do things. But the object of it last night was to get out together, put your phones down, laugh, talk a little bit, and just have a little bit of bonding so we can develop those relationships. You know, when you listen to Eddie Royal talk, and I had Xavier Debe come talk to my group, the one thing all those guys talked about when Virginia Tech was good, they played for one another. So we're trying to teach these guys the importance of that and where that comes from.
Coach Bryant's been pretty high on Dorian in the early goings and thinks he can have a pretty good season. What have you seen out of him in August, and where are you challenging him to be better?
You know, I think the biggest thing with him is just the attention to detail of playing the position. You know, there's a lot of things that you can take for granted when you're a talented guy. But football is a game of inches. And when you look at the cornerback position in particular, a lot of times you're almost there. A lot of times you make a pass breakup as opposed to an interception. And when you go back and look at the film, it's as simple as not being in the proper stance, not having your eyes in the right place. And those are things, as a coach, I've been trying to harp him on and up in his game. And probably the other thing is just the leadership aspect of it, trying to explain to him and make him understand that those guys in that room follow him. So when he halfway does things, they're going to notice that, which means they're going to halfway do things. You know, the thing you got to realize in this profession, they spend a lot more time with each other than they spend with us because of our restrictions in time. And when you have a guy like Dorian, he needs to be a guy that's an echo of the things that I say and an example of the things that I try to instill in him as well.
Do you anticipate having like a rotation of or do you want a guy playing 70 snaps if there's 70 snaps at corner? Like, I mean, what do you anticipate kind of at those two spots?
Well, I think when you have a guy that's dominant like Dorian, you want him to be able to play as many snaps as he can. But also when you're talking about a 12-game season, you got to be smart. And you've got to have somebody else in that room that's able to spell him, whether it's from a conditioning standpoint, and you've got to be prepared for injury. I think as a coach, you can never depend on one guy and not coach the other guys in the room because you could lose that guy first play of the first game. You know, what I try to do is make every guy in that room understand that he could be in that role of playing. And what I try to do is force them to practice and prepare themselves for that. You know, on the opposite side of it, we've got a competition going. That's a good competition. And that's what, as a coach, you have to create in your room. You have to make them understand that when you walk in that meeting room, it should be an uncomfortable situation because nobody can get complacent. And I think we're on our way to doing that. But what I want to do is to be able to have at least 4 guys in that room starting the season that we're comfortable with winning a football game, not just going out there and playing. Because if you're not comfortable with corners, there's a lot of things on defense you can't do.
But in the past, if you've had a guy like Dorian, you've let him kind of be out there as long as he needed to.
Yeah, I've had a lot of guys like that, unfortunately, in my career that have been really good guys, several first-team All-ACC guys, and those guys played because that's what they're for. You know, if they go to the next level, I got to try to prepare them for that. They're going to pay you not to play special teams in the NFL. They're going to play you to go against the team's best receiver, and they're paying you to expect you to be out there playing.
How's that competition between Breon and Armani going?
It's going real well. I think it's making both of them better. I'm very open with them about where they are. And the thing I try to do in my meeting room is make them be honest with each other, you know, about where they are. I often like to let the guys get up in the room and tell one another what they need to do better, what they see they can do better, in addition to talking to them about things that they can do better themselves, and addressing the group. When you sit up and tell somebody something that you need to do better, that gives the other guys in the room the power to hold you accountable for it. And accountability is half the battle in team sports.
Can DJ Harvey, while playing, kind of being the guy at nickel, be the 4th guy for you, or do you want it separate?
No. That nickel guy has to be a guy that can play outside first. You know, he's a guy that needs to be able to come in and he's going to have a completely separate role. But I want all my guys to understand, and that's why I call my guys cheaters. I never really want to get into the boundary corner, field corner, or the safety aspect as we move forward in recruiting. We want to recruit DBs that are versatile. And we don't want to play a guy just because he's the backup corner if he's not the next best player. The next best player may be coming from the safety position and playing corner. So we want to recruit guys and we want to train guys to be versatile and to be able to do multiple things.
What have you seen? I know you guys had the first scrimmage or half scrimmage yesterday. What were your impressions of it, and was there anyone that stood out from that?
I think what we really wanted to do is just to try to teach the guys the expectations of it. We were limited on both sides of the ball in the things that we called and the things that we done because we're trying to teach the guys at this point in camp still the basic fundamentals. I think the offense probably could have tried to do a few more things, and we could have tried to do a few more things to win, so to speak. We're really just trying to teach our team right now the basic fundamentals of the game and how to run to the ball and how to deal with adversity. So it really wasn't a scrimmage right there yesterday. We was trying to necessarily allow guys to compete with one another. It was just us really trying to make them understand Coach Pry's ground-up philosophy.
And then, I know we talked about Cam Johnson on Wednesday, but the other two freshman DBs, Mansour Delane, Devin Alvis, what have you seen from those guys kind of integrate into your program?
I love the mentality of both of those guys, and it's right what I told you guys a minute ago. I think both of those guys are versatile. Both of those guys have good size, and we're kind of playing them places now, seeing the learning curve and what they can do. But I think you're looking at two guys right there that are just what we said, guys that you may see anywhere in the secondary as we move forward in the future, and really pleased where they are right now. Being young guys, they've got to learn a lot of things, and that's where guys like Armani Chapman and Dorian Strong come into play, teaching those guys what it takes to be a complete football player.
Do you view Harvey as that number 4 guy right now, or is there a competition?
Well, it's hard to say right now. We hadn't had a full scrimmage yet, and I don't want to speak ahead of time because, we had a spring. Those guys have done a lot of things in the offseason, but until we get out there and allow them to play and allow them to compete, I don't want to say anybody is in that position, right now, because I want to be able to look at the film from tomorrow, and then we've got another big scrimmage coming up. Now, if somebody separates themselves tomorrow and shows us they're just that guy, then they're just that guy. But right now we've got an open competition, so I'm excited to see who wins it.
You mentioned working with the safeties. Did you bring anybody over at all to work with you yet, or you notice anybody that could have those cover skills? I mean, is that something that you just kind of keep in the back of your head, or what do you do?
Well, no, I think when you look at it, Chamari Connor's a versatile guy, that can do some things, and he's played some nickel in the past, can do some things which allows us to be able to get somebody else in the safety rotation back there. And then I think as you look at Mansour Delaney and you look at Devin Alves, two young guys, as we move on and they mature a little bit and grow and learn what we're doing from a package standpoint, can move a couple of different places. But, I work with all those guys every day in one-on-ones and get a chance to see those guys and try to just work with them to improve their craft as far as covering so that if they have to make a move, they're prepared to do that.
How would you describe Armani and what he brings to your group?
Armani is probably one of the smartest football players I've ever coached. Armani is a guy that has a wealth of knowledge of the whole package, everything that we're doing. He has a very physical presence. I think what we're doing is going to work into his favor, playing field and boundary. But Armani is also a guy that has a safety build and a safety body. And, one of the things I'm putting in his ear right now, to be more versatile, to make yourself more marketable for the next level, expand your horizon. You're a guy that people are going to look at as a big corner, boundary corner, but at the same time, if you're a guy that can play safety, now you're a safety that can play corner, and that makes you more valuable. But I love everything that he's brought to the table. He's probably been, from the end of spring to right now, the most improved guy in the things that we talked about in the offseason that I wanted them to individually improve on, and I'm real pleased at where he is right now.
You said earlier with Breon, it was a big thing about confidence, coming in and building that up. How has he come out of the summer, and is he looking as confident as he's been?
Yeah, I mean, really growing, and sometimes, bad things have to happen before, we can observe that. And the thing we're constantly trying to instill in him, because he hadn't played a lot here and hadn't had a lot of experience, and, he's had some coaching changes or whatever. But, I think the biggest thing with him is just seeing how he responds when adversity does hit. The thing I tell these guys all the time, I played corner. And I don't care how good you are, at some point in time, things are going to go in the other favor because those guys over there on scholarship too. But it's not about losing a particular play. It's about how you allow losing that play to affect you the rest of the ball game. So every day, it's a training session to be able to see. But again, we're not really going to know until he gets under the lights and things happen to him to how he responds. But, he's done all the right things up until this point. He's had the right mindset. So I feel real good about where he is right now.
You got to look at the receivers. Anybody that you've seen that's been hard to cover for your guys?
Anytime you get a guy like Caleb, he's difficult to deal with because he's a big body. He's a very crafty receiver. Caleb has a unique ability to be able to come off the ball slow and create separation and do a lot of things. But, just the one-on-one balls, when a guy has that size and he has a really, really good catch radius and he does a good job of tracking the ball. So he's been really good for us to work against on the outside. So I've been very pleased with watching him.
Jaylen Strowman was a guy who ended 2021 really well. What have you seen kind of in his offseason, how in that DB room as a whole do you see kind of him working into it this season?
Yeah, he's another guy that has versatility. He's another guy that we're looking at that we could possibly move around and do some different things with. And he's made some strides here in this camp, being able to fill in on a couple of different positions, when guys have not been there, and being able to do some things. When he's a versatile guy, I actually tried to recruit him out of high school, so very familiar with him and his brother, for a matter of fact. So just excited, being a young guy, what he brings to the table, and a guy that we can do a lot of different things with. He's one of those guys that, again, you look at it and you say, okay, who's our next best football player? And he's going to be one of those guys behind the starters, and he has to be, if he's one of our best football players, be available to play a couple of different positions.